Mixtape Pluto is another case of Wheezy taking that classic trap sound to a whole nother level. In this video, we're going to uncover the secrets behind his and Southside's production on the project.
Turning up, they ready to put the switch on. Got this bad bitch, she texting me, she ready to sit on.
Obviously, this mixtape is inspired by Future's classic run of mixtapes, with DY saying it's like 56 Nights Part 2. However, with it being 10 years since that project, the new beats are on a different level. As you heard, Made My Hoe Faint is one of the most unique pieces of track production I've heard in a while. To make something similar, I first layered two sounds. One, a pad giving us some body, and two, a string providing a high-end texture. Now this is quite standard for a trap beat. However, some of the other sound selection is very unique. Wheezy and Southside chose some almost ugly sounds, ones that on their own would not sound good. On the song, there's this repeating vocal chop, so to replicate that, I first found a vocal chant. However, it didn't have the same melodic texture that the one in the song does, so I clicked through the hit section on Omnisphere until I found this sound. To finish off the melodic side of things, I took away the final chord and replaced it with a different sound. Next, let's move on to the drums, specifically Wheezy's drums. Now Wheezy does not conform to what most people do with their hi-hats. He's always adding notes that I would never think to do on my beats, but they just work. And the same goes for his snare rolls. These are used almost like a hi-hat themselves and add a lot of bounce. Then we finally added in a hard snare and spins 808. Always boost your 808 and add a soft clipper. That's the secret to get your beats to hit hard. Mixtape Pluto is mostly hard, dark beats, so I wanted to carry on in that vein, this time focusing on the even darker beats. To achieve this kind of pad sound, you need to process it with distortion, compression, and a big reverb. After that, I layered in a low piano hit. I went to the vintage upright VST from Leia's Legacy bundle and put this down. If you want over 650 authentic vintage sounds like the piano VST that we just used, then hit the link below and use the code VINTAGE20 for 20% off. Next, I wanted to take inspiration from south of France. The guitar has a smooth texture under the synths and I thought it would fit perfectly on our beat. So I played the chords and processed it with an autochroma, amp and compressor. And finally, I added a couple of vocal chants inspired by the same song. Now let's look at Southside's drums. He tends to keep things a lot more simple than Wheezy. For example, his hi-hats. He used low notes and some rolls for extra bounce, but still kept a two-step pattern. Then we have a simple snare and clap. Before going to the 808, however, I added a synth accent inspired by Lil Demon and a lead inspired by Surfing a Tsunami. As you hear, it goes from filtered to super bright as the song progresses. I did the same thing by automating a low pass filter, leaving us with this. And finally, we have a shorter Spins 808, again boosted. There aren't many emotional songs on this project, but of the ones there are, Too Fast stands out the most.
Oh, the paddock, I was moving too fast. New G-Wagon, I was moving too fast.
To make something similar, we first need a descending progression. I used the Retro Rhodes VST from Leia's Legacy and got this. This kit has a vintage Rhodes, piano and synth VSTs created using the real instruments to give you guys the tools to make the most authentic vintage R&B, trap or soul samples. It also comes with 600 plus more sounds, including one-shots, accents, phrases and a vintage drum kit. Use code VINTAGE20 for 20% off, hit the link below. For the next element, I was inspired by Lost My Dog.
Lost my dog to fentanyl, his body couldn't absorb it. Going off a G6, feel like I'm on orbit.
The ambient guitar and vocals fit perfectly together. I played the chords, processed it with an ambient amp preset, and added in some vocals from Leia's Legacy. Next, I went back to Too Fast to add in a counter melody. There's this detuned bell-like sound that really stood out to me. To get a similar texture, try this. First, find a sound and make your melody. Then put it in a high octave and bounce it to audio. After that, make it slower by time stretching it and pitch it down 2 whole octaves. I then combine that with a string phrase from Layer's Legacy, leaving us with this. For these drums, done by Taurus on Too Fast, I started with a hi-hat and open hat. Then we have a clap and snare. And to finish it all off, we have another boosted Spins 808.